Hey guys, former WWE superstar Hornswoggle here. Make sure you're tuning in to Aaron and Tom and the incredible Hot Tag Hooligans podcast. I know I will be. Take care.
Welcome, everybody, to the Hot Tag Hooligans Wrestling Podcast Show. I'm Aaron. Joining me tonight, as always, is Tom. Tonight, an episode of The Blind Tag, where we just tell you guys and girls out there exactly what's all been going on and our opinions on pro wrestling as a whole. We know we've been away for a few weeks. We had some things pop up, some vacation here and there, and some shoot job stuff as well. But we're back tonight. Tom, how's it going?
Doing great. Not as good as you. You got to spend a few days down in Disney. You want to tell everybody a little bit about that?
Yeah, able to take a vacation last week down to Disney World. You say I'm doing better than you. I don't know how my wallet is right now. I'm still recovering from that trip. But in all, great trip. Good to get away for a few days. And I will say this, for everyone who is total anti-mask, you don't want to go to Disney. I'm going to tell you now, you're not getting in unless you got that mask on. And it's not a bandana, and it's not a gaiter. It's an actual mask is what you got to have on down there, and they are very strict about the rules. Of course, me and my family, we were glad to comply. No issues from us. You know, if we're going to spend the money to go down there, we're going to make sure we get in and do what we need to do to have a good time. But yeah, 84 degrees, beautiful, sunny, no rain. Stepped off the plane, though, back here, and 34 degrees and pouring rain. So, yeah, back to reality.
Well, I wanted to show everybody something you brought back, and you brought me something back from Orlando. These are pretty sweet. It's got the cart from WrestleMania 3. It's not something that you see a lot of in stores, so greatly appreciate you picking that up for me. It's definitely going to be one of my centerpieces when I get some things rearranged.
You know, the crazy part about that figure is I actually like it better in the box.
It's good in the box. It really is. But that cart, I can't appreciate it the way it should be appreciated in the box. I need it to be out. Yeah, it's definitely got to be out of the box. But that's how I am on a lot of stuff. And the more and more I get into collecting, the more and more I want to open them up, because I've got some really great figures, and I'm like, I've held on to them in the box, and it's been perfect and best condition it can be. And then when I talk myself into opening it, it's a whole other level of appreciation for the artwork that goes into these things. And you don't really get to appreciate them unless you can actually see them out of the box.
Yeah, I mean, it was really hard for me to find anything. And it's kind of weird because Orlando is kind of, Florida right now in general is the hub for professional wrestling. But all their Walmarts and Targets and places like that were sold out of just about anything. Yeah, they had a few just normal figures. Nothing special, but I did come across that one, and then the Macho Man Randy Savage WrestleMania 3 one as well, which is very sweet. And I would have brought them both back, but once my girl hit American Girl doll store, and my wife bought everything underneath the sun in Florida, and so did my son, I didn't have enough room for everything.
Well, I greatly. You talk about that not being able to recover financially. I don't know if I can handle Ryan Barkin and all these daggum micro brawlers, because there was like a micro brawler mania going on while you were down there, and I'm in the same boat. I'm not tapping out. It's a struggle.
You know, I love the micro brawlers. You know, there's some of them that are better than the others. But whenever you do get those, I do always enjoy looking at those. it's kind of one of those I kind of wish I got into, but so glad I didn't, because there's so many of them. And then you have kind of like the off-brand micro brawlers that are just as cool as well, that aren't PWTs. But yeah, if you're a collector right now, there's a lot of stuff out to be collecting.
So as you can see, I have a lot of them. I don't have them all. I did start at the beginning, though, when they were mainly in the crates. And then I pretty well tried to get all the ones that I thought I wanted. And then now later, I'm like, why did I not buy that then when it was $12.99? And now it's $150 on eBay. So it's really hard. But I will say the great thing about them is they're small. So you can have a huge collection of them, and they don't take up a lot of real estate. So that's one of my favorite things about them. And the detail that goes into something so small is great. I just got to figure out, how do we get them made of us?
We've looked into it a few times as far as some companies that would make figures, because we've had this great idea that we would love to make figures of people who come on our show, some of the independent wrestlers, and we wouldn't care to cut them in on the profit on them. I think it'd be great for some people to have a Lufisto figure, a Gino Rivera, a Billy Starks, a Gabby Ortiz. Those would be amazing to make. But unfortunately, we don't know those contacts.
Besides micro brawlers would be fantastic. Effie's would be fantastic.
Effie's may be R-rated.
That's fine. It would be a hot seller for sure.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, it seems like if you can make a micro brawler right now, it's going to sell. It don't matter who it is.
It could be Matt.
Could be Matty Rankowski. Could be. Absolutely.
That'd be a good one.
Yeah. Looking at, we don't have a guest tonight, and that's perfectly fine. We do have some coming up in the next week or so. We've got those scheduled for sure. But we want to also be able to take a look at everything that's been going on recently in pro wrestling. Big news coming out of last night. We have a new world champion in WWE. His name is Bobby Lashley.
Yeah. So here's my only gripe. I don't care. Like, I want to care about Bobby Lashley's title reign and the way it went down, who his opponent was, how he beat him, and nothing against The Miz. It's just not what I wanted for Bobby Lashley. I hope we're in the middle of a great story that is just tremendous coming out on the other end. But it just didn't do what I think it needed to do. And I don't think Bobby Lashley got the justice he deserves.
There's been a lot of booking right now that's kind of head scratching. It's been 10 years since The Miz has been world champion. He was able to cash in the Money in the Bank. And like I said, I didn't care that The Miz was the world champion. I thought it was the terriblest timing possible for him to be the world champion, because I never believed for a second he was going to go into WrestleMania as the champion. I just did not believe it for a second. So I knew it was going to kind of be what they call transitional. And if you would have looked at it that way, they probably should have just kept it on Otis. The briefcase on Otis, had Otis somehow cash it in, and then have Lashley beat Otis, if that's the case.
Absolutely. I mean, to me, that would have been a world's difference in the fundamental storytelling, where everyone cared about Otis. Everyone was invested in Otis, even though he was not somebody that most people would have looked at as their world champion. They were invested in him as a character. And for it to just be a quick, transition, and you take, Otis getting screwed out of the Money in the Bank, to The Miz picking his opportunity, and basically Lashley won that match for him after McIntyre had already won his match. It just did nothing. It just did nothing for me. I was fine with The Miz having the belt. I like The Miz. I don't have a problem with him cheating. I would have rather him cheated fully himself to win that match and then told a story at maybe Fastlane where he gets beat clean by Drew McIntyre, and then we set something up with plenty of time from Fastlane to WrestleMania if they weren't going to go with Otis. But I like your idea with Otis better, and as hot as Otis was during that time, I think it would have been perfect.
We still got some time before Mania, so there's a lot of things that could possibly happen. I think everyone believes maybe The Miz and Bad Bunny is the direction that they're possibly going to go to eventually. And if that was the plan all along, again, another reason for The Miz not to have won the belt yet. Or if you had Bad Bunny had cost him last night the belt, that would have been another thing. Bobby Lashley, though, for me, ever since they started the Hurt Business, has been a better character and a better version of Bobby Lashley. Maybe this is their way of letting Drew win the belt again, but this time in front of fans, which, everyone wanted him to have that moment last year. But if that's the case, then Bobby Lashley's a transitional champion too, basically, because he's not going to hold it any longer than over a month and a half. And you kind of hate to see that as well too, because you want to see how far he could actually go with that. And then there's the rumors that maybe Lesnar could be involved. Maybe it's Lesnar, Lashley, and Drew. That's a good possibility as well. So there's a lot of moving parts right now, and hopefully they'll get it in the direction they need to. On SmackDown side, seems pretty solid that it's going to be Roman Reigns and Edge, which I kind of figured that was the way it was going to go after Royal Rumble. I do like that story. I do like Edge getting his shot again and coming back for one last shot of it. At this point, I don't believe he's going to win. We'll do a preview show and predictions closer to Mania, but I believe Roman will retain. But yeah, at least you're starting to stir some things up. This is the best time of the year for wrestling, supposed to be for us fans as we march toward WrestleMania. But we need a little bit more clarification as far as some of these storylines go.
Speaking of storylines, what's the deal with Retribution? So I thought they were like this big rebel faction who, they were in here tearing up stuff, and now they're lumberjacks. What did I miss?
Yeah, it's another one of those where you just throw something together and there's no plan to start with, and that's where WWE is their worst. Let's have this great idea where we're going to put all these people who have been screwed over by the system. But heck, I think they lost like their first or second week, T-Bar, Dijakovic, I know, has lost quite a few times, and almost every member's lost. But maybe we're going to see Mustafa Ali versus Matt Riddle. They kind of pushed that a little bit last night. Not sure how that's going to go. But the week before, they were teasing a breakup between them all. So it's very difficult sometimes to watch wrestling, let's be honest, especially when our intelligence is being questioned on things. But yeah, you're right. Why are they lumberjacks? They shouldn't be listening to anybody. They shouldn't care what's going on. But the same thing, they just literally had a match and with Riddle and them, and now they're marching down the ringside almost next to Riddle, across the way. Same thing with Elias and them, just marching down the ring just to be a lumberjack. You want to use some lumberjacks? Let's use some people that just weren't in the feud earlier in the night.
It just completely hurts credibility. Like, it makes them look very, very unintelligent. And they do that with a lot of characters. Don't even get me started on Braun Strowman. Another week where he's the biggest idiot in the room. And it's not good TV. And I'm the biggest Braun supporter there probably is. And I'm at the point where if this is what you're going to do, get him off my TV. I don't need that.
We've talked about this, not on air, but, off air quite a bit. They're done with Braun, in my opinion. I really believe it. They're done with him. And you're right. He comes across as a blooming idiot. Shane really made him look bad last week when he was basically calling him stupid and an idiot. I'm not sure what's there for him. He used to be it's okay to be like a dumb monster, but he's more dumb than he is monster. And when Lashley beat him clean last week, to me, that's a sign of things to come for him, in my opinion. But when you look at the complete roster of people, there's so many talents right now it's not even used. Like, I know there was an issue with Zelina Vega, but you're telling me you can't use Aleister Black? Are you being serious? You spent 5 months of my life teasing this Buddy Murphy tease and having this big love, affair with Aaliyah, and now he's completely off my TV as well. You were pushing Dominic and Rey Mysterio, Dominic pretty high. Now he's getting beat by Chad Gable and Otis. Sometimes it's better just to be an independent wrestler.
Yeah.
I've said that quite a bit in the last few weeks. I get it where everyone wants that contract for, the financial support and to have something concrete in their life. When you lose your individuality and everything that makes you special, maybe it's not quite worth it. I don't know.
It's hard. Always that dream, because as a wrestling fan and as someone who wants to be in the business, when you're a pro wrestler, for the most part, I would say 99% of everybody has dreams of WrestleMania. What kind of WrestleMania moment are they going to have? Or maybe it's bigger than that. Maybe they need, for themselves, all they dream about is a legacy in WWE, because it is the big deal in professional wrestling. And even though there's some great companies out there, and they will, hopefully, with the business growing and continuing to evolve as it is, we'll have many great companies in pro wrestling that will have legacies that people will want to fulfill their dreams with. But WWE is the main deal. Everybody knows about WrestleMania. Everybody wants to be a part of that. Everybody wants to be the WWE champion. But is it really worth it to sacrifice all that they sacrifice for what they're doing? And for some people, it is. Some people literally look at it as just a job, and they're good enough and talented enough, and they have that it factor that they can walk on TV and perform on Raw, and it doesn't matter. But the ones who are truly the pro wrestling fan inside, I think they really do want those moments. And it's sad that the storytelling and everything that they do for their character work is always less than it should be and could be from a fan's perspective, and for their own.
On the main brand, if you're somebody who is a major name in the independents, they're not building you. I mean, they're just not. And listen, for anyone out there who's an independent wrestler who is signed to WWE NXT, hey, we fully support you. Don't think we're totally bashing that. We want you guys to succeed at all your dreams. So don't get us like that. But I think that's why NXT to me is my favorite brand, period, right now, even more than AEW, is because I feel like that they are building stars. AEW did a good job when it first started, but now it's repetition. It's the same people. Yes, they didn't start the promotion with all their main elite members being champions, but here we are a year or so in, and that's always the main focus now is those guys and girls. And plus, I can't even tell you what's really going on in Impact. I'm so confused. I mean, New Japan's involved now. Impact's involved now. I get they're trying to make it where you never know who's going to show up. But let's finish one round of storylines before we throw in another, round of storylines. Are we done with the Impact stuff? I'm not quite sure. Kind of seems like we are, but then the Good Brothers are still wrestling over there. Private Party's wrestling on Impact. And then with the New Japan stuff, they were trying to push Kenta versus Moxley. So this was a big week for them coming up. As far as their show goes, you got Cody and Red Velvet versus Shaq and Jade. So that's going to be some pretty good viewership over on AEW this week, I would assume. And there is rumors that NXT may be moving to Tuesdays now as well, which will be good for them. I really believe that. I just don't think wrestling's viable enough right now where people can battle on the same nights, because then you are making people choose. I was talking to Ella J, and unlike her, I'm able to watch AEW again later that night. They come back on at 10 o'clock, but where she's living, she has to flip. And it's very hard to choose which one to watch. So if we really want wrestling to succeed, then yes, let's start separating some nights. But now you'll have poor Impact. Yeah, but their ratings unfortunately have never been where they should either with some of the talent that they've had. I just don't know why people don't tune in to them as much as they should. But I think this Tuesday night deal could be part of the Peacock deal coming, or maybe Peacock's wanting a programming specifically for Tuesday nights, perhaps. I'm not quite sure, but we'll find out more about that coming up, I'm sure.
Yeah, I Impact more and more all the time because they've picked up a lot of new people as well. Very excited for the stories that Brian Myers and Matt Cardona are telling. I'm feeling like in Impact they're getting the opportunity to have a little more creative freedom, and it's kind of been exciting to see what they bring to the table at that level versus what they were being asked to do in WWE. But the biggest thing to that is I don't feel like it's consistent. They're on there one week and the next week they're not. And I'm like, it's hard to follow the story. And for me it is. And I try to watch everything. I don't always get to watch it on the night that it airs. But yeah, I kind of feel for Impact a little bit because I feel like they're gaining a little bit of steam. And then if NXT goes to Tuesday nights, I think everything that they did gain is going to be gone. I'll still be setting my DVR, but if I'm choosing, I'm going to choose NXT over Impact.
Well, Impact. I mean, Tuesday night's a pretty big TV night for me. I mean, there's quite a few shows I watch. I'm not scared to say. I watched This Is Us. I watched The Flash. Superman and Lois is on. Young Rock is on Tuesday nights as well. So I just told everybody how big of a geek I am as far as the TV shows I watch. But, there's a lot of television on, and now everyone keeps having their own streaming services. Paramount's got a streaming service getting ready to launch. Peacock. I mean, eventually, satellite television is probably going to be out the window eventually because everyone's just jumping on board, and then we're going to be paying $300 a month for every streaming service imaginable.
Yeah.
All right. So we just want to kind of let everyone know some things before we let you go tonight about some things that we've got coming up. We are going to start, ever since we started this podcast, we're going to talk about it for a second. Ever since we started this podcast, there are certain guests that we wanted to have on that we pushed completely to the side. And the main reason, as Tom was just showing you, was because of my book, Independent Road: A Wrestler's Journey. So far, we've seen some pretty good success with it. We've got as high as number 4 on Barnes & Noble's bestsellers list under sports. But there are some amazing talents in this book. Some of them we didn't hold off on. We had Lou Fisto on. We had Gino Rivera on. We had Billy Starks on. But some of them we did because I wanted to make sure everyone wanted to read the book and got a chance to get the book before we started having those guys and girls on. Because if we're having them on and they're talking about their lives, then you're probably not going to buy the book. So We do have some of them coming up. Matt Sigmund is scheduled to join us in a couple weeks. And then, of course, the great Molly Spartan, who Tom is waiting for this one because she's one of my favorite people that I've met through this whole process, and I'm going to be so glad to finally get her on. May have to do some language censors because you never know what she's going to say. But she's one of the most honest people about the world of professional wrestling as well. I guess I want to thank everybody so far for everything, all the positive feedback that we've gotten on this book. Of course, there's a chapter in there about Tom as well. Adam Vanderbilt, who was in here. I'll just go down the list real quick for anyone who doesn't know. All right, so Gino Rivera, Facade, Aria Blake, Lufisto, Alex Gracia, Tom Henderson, Adam Vanderbilt III, Billy Starks, Tyson Dukes, Braden Lee, Effie. Who am I missing? Oh, man. Did I just miss somebody?
I don't know, but this guy on 172 is breathtakingly handsome.
What are you talking about? Gino Rivera is way before that.
Oh.
Guys, I mean, it's a great book, and I'm not just saying that. I think if I didn't write it myself, it's a book that I would want to pick up because I'm someone who wants to learn about as many talents as I can, and this is their life stories. This is the stuff that they shared with me over hours of interviews, and I did the best I could to put it into word form. And some of the struggles that some of these men and women have gone through in their lives to overcome stuff is amazing. And guess what? Some of their dreams aren't even to make it to the World Wrestling Federation. I mean, entertainment. It's not. And you'll learn that. And so for anyone who loves professional wrestling, this book is for you. And I definitely want to thank, shout out to Tea Time with Tommy, and shout out to Miss Ella J at A Wrestling Gal for some of the publicity that they've helped us get with this book, with some of the interviews. And of course, there are tons of people to thank in this book as well, as far as the photos, helping me get some questions to some answers. The great Dave Metzler is one of them. So thank you guys for everything as far as this goes. And I hope everyone who's got a copy so far is really enjoying it. Billy Starks actually messaged me right before we got on here and said when her grandmother read her chapter, she cried. You can't beat that, right? That's a great feeling for myself. Not only for Billy, but for myself, right? Because that's what we want. We want people to feel connected with the talent. And that's something that's missing in wrestling in general is, maybe 5 years from now, one of these talents is main event in WrestleMania and you've read this book and you're going to be so connected to them now because you've read this book and you're going to know their struggles. What the WWE or AEW doesn't tell you about, and you're going to appreciate it even more. So.
Well, I haven't yet, but I'll do it on air so that everybody can hear this. I greatly appreciate you doing the book and including me in it. Nobody's ever heard of me, and that's fine. I was a former professional wrestler around the Evansville area long time ago. I'm getting old now. But it was a very important part of my life. And it's one of the reasons I appreciate the professional wrestling business the way I do. And, the reasons that I like to support the talent, a big influence on doing these podcasts. So I greatly appreciate my story being told. It's an honor. And I understand that a lot of people may read this and be like, who is this guy? But I feel like my story is half of the wrestling fans out there who have always wanted to be a professional wrestler. And I am honored that I've been able to have matches and have been able to fulfill that part of my dream. So I appreciate you for putting me in the book.
Yeah, absolutely. I think your story and, is 85% of the people who get into the wrestling business.
Oh,
You know, I mean, and I'm not saying it in a negative way. I'm really, that's how it is. You know, we all look, only certain people reach this platform. Most of them get here. And so I think your story is very relatable. And I think a lot of people are going to understand that not everything's always roses as far as the business goes when they read your chapter. And so, but yeah, you're welcome. You didn't have to say thank you. And I told people we probably don't do this podcast if we didn't sit around and talk about me doing this book, because let's be honest, we were scared to death to even start the podcast. We talked about it for 3 years before we did it, and it went till I did the book. I was like, hey, I think I figured it out. I think let's do it. And so smooth sailing ever since. Yeah. So also, if anyone has not listened, check out those interviews at Tea Time with Tommy and with Miss Ella J. She posted it today. And for people who don't know, we've announced the next book on Ella's podcast this morning. It will be an all women's book. And let me tell you, Tom knows some of them. We've got a great lineup already of some great female talent who have already agreed to be a part of this. And Miss Ella J will write the foreword for this book, and it's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. Better than this one. I'm just going to throw it out there now. I really believe these women have a story, and it's time that their voices are heard, and it's going to be amazing.
So before we get off here, we got to tell everybody about the sale going on at Pro Wrestling Tees starting tomorrow, 20% off. We got some Hot Tag Hooligans merch. Even have a new shirt up with the cover of the Independent Road book on it. I think it's going to be a hot seller for us. So everybody go check that out.
Yeah, definitely. And, of course, we'd love for you to buy some of our merch. If you don't, that's fine. The sale's good for all items at the store at PWT. So pick yourself up something that belongs to Eddie Kingston and pick yourself up a Hot Tag Hooligan shirt as well. I mean, that's just the way to do it. Easy peasy. May have some news coming up. We've kind of been asked to do something. We haven't fully agreed to it yet, but we got something maybe special coming up here in the next month or so. Me and Tom got a few things to talk about, but it involves a specific wrestling show. So we'll let you guys know what we decide as far as that goes. Of course, we got to look at some shoot job stuff before we can fully commit to that. So for everyone out there, I appreciate you guys and girls. Don't forget, pick it up, order it. Not much more to say as far as that goes. We'll be back next week. Everyone stay safe and have a good night.